Welcome back to Zcoin. Today we're diving into the top 7 most valuable Abraham Lincoln penny coins that could be worth thousands and in some cases even millions of dollars in the current market video. We're diving deep into a fascinating coin that could be hiding in your pocket change or old coin jar. We're talking about the 1789 to 2001 Washington $quarter coin, a modern collector's dream with roots tracing back to American history. Let's break down what makes these quarters so special, what their history holds, and why some of them are worth thousands of dollars today. So stay tuned, because you might just discover that a simple quarter is actually a rare gem in disguise. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Designed by John Flanagan, the obverse features the classic bust of Washington, and the reverse traditionally showed an eagle until the late 1990s. Now you may be wondering, what does the 1789 to 2001 inscription mean? These coins were part of the United States Mint's 50 State Quarters program, a historic and wildly popular initiative that started in 1999. The specific 1789 to 2001 Washington $quarter coins often refer to the statehood quarters released in that period, especially those honoring the first few states that ratified the Constitution. But here's where things get interesting. Not all Washington quarters are created equal. Let's talk about some of the rarest and most valuable examples from 1789 to 2001 era quarters. Collectors and dealers are willing to pay big money for specific mint errors, low mintage coins, and pristine condition examples with deep cameo contrast or high grades from coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC. For example, the 1999 Delaware quarter was the very first of the state quarter series. It features Caesar Rodney on horseback. A rare error version of this coin, known as the spitting horse variety, shows a die crack that makes it look like the horse is spitting. Depending on condition, this coin can be worth anywhere from $30 to $300 or more. Then there's the 2000 South Carolina quarter, which has been found with a major minting mistake. A mule error, where the obverse of one coin is accidentally paired with the reverse of another. Only a handful of these exist, and one sold for over $40,000 at auction. Another notable mention is the 2001 New York quarter. A high-grade, deep cameo-proof version graded PR70 can sell for over $150. That's a pretty good return on a 25-cent coin. So how do you know if your Washington quarter from this period is worth big money? First, check for mint marks. Coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark, Denver has a small d, and San Francisco coins are marked with an S. Proof coins, especially those made from 90% silver and struck in San Francisco, are highly collectible. Second, look at the condition. Coins that have never been circulated and retain their full mint luster are considered uncirculated or in mint state. These can be graded from MS60 to MS70. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Coins graded MS67 or higher can bring hundreds or even thousands at auction. Third, search for errors. Look for double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks. These minting errors are often rare and valuable to collectors. Now, let's talk about the 1789 to 2001 date range specifically. This span represents a key transitional time in American coinage. By 2001, the final quarters of the original statehood program were being released. The commemorative 1789 to 2001 inscriptions marked the historical importance of each state and the constitutional timeline of the nation's founding. So, what's the current market like for these coins? As of today, Washington quarters from the 1789 to 2001 range are in high demand among collectors, especially in uncirculated sets and silver-proof editions. High-grade examples can sell anywhere between $50 to over $1,000 depending on rarity, condition, and demand. Error coins can fetch even more. eBay listings and auction sites like Heritage Auctions and Great Collections show state quarters consistently selling for premium prices, especially when certified by reputable grading companies. So what should you do if you think you have one of these valuable coins? First, do a detailed inspection. Use a magnifying glass or loupe and check for unusual features, errors, or sharp details. Next, look up recent sale prices on coin marketplaces. And if it looks like you've struck gold or silver in this case, send your coin to be professionally graded. In the end, what makes the 1789 to 2001 Washington $quarter so fascinating is its combination of historic symbolism, artistic design, and unexpected rarity. Whether you're a lifelong collector or someone who just stumbled upon an old coin, these quarters are more than spare change. They're pieces of American history, and some could be worth a fortune, so check your change. Dig through your coin jars, and don't overlook the quarters. That 25-cent piece just might be a $2,500 treasure. Today we're diving into a coin that might be hiding right in your change jar or tucked away in an old drawer. The 1973 Washington quarter dollar. Now before you think this is just another ordinary quarter, hold on. Because believe it or not, some of these coins have been known to sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's right, this little piece of change could actually be a small fortune if you've got the right one. So let's take a look at the history, some of the key varieties, the minting process, and of course what makes some of these quarters worth big money today. The Washington quarter first appeared back in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was supposed to be a one-year commemorative coin, but people loved it so much it ended up replacing the standing Liberty quarter entirely. By the time 1973 came around, the Washington quarter had already become a fixture in American coinage. The obverse of the coin still featured that iconic profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse had the heraldic eagle, wings spread, clutching arrows, and olive branches, a design that would stick around until the state quarters began in 1999. Now let's zero in on the year 1973. In that year, the U.S. Mint produced Washington quarters at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 346 million quarters with no mint mark. Denver added a D-mint mark and contributed more than 232 million coins. And then there's San Francisco, which made just over 2.7 million coins. But here's the kicker. Those were all proof coins intended for collectors. So what makes the 1973 quarter stand out? It all comes down to a few things: condition, rarity, and mint errors. If you have a regular circulated 1973 quarter, it's mostly going to be worth face value. But, and this is a big but, if your coin is in pristine uncirculated condition, especially graded MS66 or higher by a service like PCGS or NGC, it could bring in anywhere from $25 to $75. Go higher in grade like MS67 or above, and now you're talking serious money. A 1973 D Washington quarter graded MS67 has sold for over $1,200 at auction. Now let's talk about the proof coins from San Francisco. These are typically easy to spot because they have that mirror-like finish and the S-mint mark. A regular proof in perfect condition might go for $5 to $10. But if it's a deep cameo or graded PR70, the absolute top grade possible, prices can go way higher. In fact, a 1973 S-proof quarter graded PR70 deep cameo has sold for over $500. That's 50,000% more than face value. But the real treasures come from mint errors. This is where the big bucks start showing up. Double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes. These are the kinds of mistakes that collectors go crazy for. One of the most valuable 1973 quarters ever sold had a dramatic off-center error and fetched over $3,000 at auction. Another one with a double die obverse, meaning the image of Washington's profile was stamped twice slightly offset, sold for over $1,800. You might be wondering, how do I know if my quarter is special? Well, first, check the mint mark. If it has a D or an S, you're already in a good place. Next, check the condition. If it looks sharp, shiny, and barely touched, you might have a higher grade specimen. And finally, grab a magnifying glass and look closely for any signs of doubling on the date, the word Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Even tiny differences can be worth a lot of money. And don't overlook the weight. A standard clad quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If your 1973 quarter weighs more, it could be a transitional error, possibly struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier years. That kind of mistake is extremely rare, but if real, can sell for thousands of dollars. These errors often require professional verification, but hey, it's worth checking. Now, in terms of the current market, the demand for error coins and high-grade specimens is higher than ever. Collectors are constantly searching for coins to complete their sets, and registry coins, those are the top-graded coins in the world, can bring staggering prices. As of now, top-graded 1973 and 1973 D quarters in MS67 are routinely selling for several $100s, and PR70 proof coins with the S-mint mark are holding strong in the $300 to $500 range. So what should you do if you think you've got one of these valuable quarters? First, do not clean it. I repeat, don't clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value. Next, store it in a protective holder or flip to avoid further damage. Then, consider sending it off to a grading company like PCGS or NGC. Yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but if your coin is truly rare, the return on investment could be huge. At the end of the day, the 1973 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how something ordinary can turn into something extraordinary. Whether it's a hidden gem in a pocket of change, a flawless proof in a collector's set, or an error coin that slipped through the cracks at the mint, these quarters remind us that history, art, and a little bit of luck can all come together in one small piece of metal. So go check your change. Look through those old rolls. Ask your grandparents if they've got a jar of coins sitting in the attic. You never know, that one 1973 quarter could be your lucky jackpot. Today, we're diving deep into a modern coin that's quietly making waves in the numismatic world. We're talking about the 1995 D Washington $quarter coin. You may have seen one in your spare change, but what if I told you that some of these quarters are worth way more than 25 cents? In fact, certain varieties have sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. So grab your loupe and let's explore the full story behind the 1995 D quarter and how you can spot the ones that could make you some serious money. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been part of American coinage since 1932. It was originally struck to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, and over time, it became a permanent part of U.S. currency. By 1995, the design remained largely unchanged, still featuring the classic profile of George Washington on the obverse, or front, of the coin, designed by John Flanagan. On the reverse, the eagle stands with outstretched wings, symbolizing strength and vigilance. The 1995 D quarter was minted in Denver, which is identified by the small D mint mark found just to the right of Washington's ponytail. That year, the Denver Mint produced over 1.1 billion quarters. That's right, over 1 billion coins. With such a high mintage, you might think the 1995 D quarter is just another common coin. But here's where things get interesting. Despite the massive production, a small number of these quarters contain rare and valuable minting errors and varieties that have collectors paying top dollar. Let's talk about a few of those now. Point one of the most desirable features is a double die error, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process. Although rare, a few examples of the 1995 D quarter have been found with doubling on the obverse, particularly around the letters in the word liberty, or in God we trust. If you find one of these in decent condition, it could fetch you anywhere from $100 to over $500, depending on the strength of the doubling and overall coin condition. Another hot variety is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, called a planchet, isn't properly centered during the strike. This results in part of the design being cut off, with a blank crescent showing on the coin. The value of an off-center 1995 D quarter depends on how far off-center it is. A 5% off-center might not bring much, but if you find one that's struck 40% off-center and still shows the date and mint mark, it could be worth several $100s to the right buyer. There's also the clipped planchet error, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a mistake in the blanking process. These can also command prices well above face value, especially if they're dramatic and uncirculated. But now let's shift our focus to grade and condition. Even without errors, a 1995 D quarter in mint state condition, especially one graded MS67 or higher by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth $10 to $50 and in some rare cases much more. In fact, the record auction price for a 1995 D Washington quarter in MS68 condition was $1,528. That's right, over $1,500 for a modern coin that originally cost just 25 cents. So how can you tell if your 1995 D quarter is valuable? First, examine the coin closely under a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look for any doubling in the text or unusual features. Second, consider the condition. Coins with minimal wear, strong luster, and clean fields are always more desirable. If your coin looks sharp, it might be worth sending to a grading service. Even a small investment in professional grading can make a big difference when you go to sell. Now let's talk about the current market value. As of 2025, the average circulated 1995 D quarter is still worth face value. But a coin in uncirculated mint state condition is worth between $1 and $10, depending on the grade. Rare varieties and errors can bring anywhere from $50 to over $1,000, especially if certified. Online marketplaces like eBay show recent sold listings in the hundreds for high-grade or error coins. So what should you do if you find one of these in your collection or pocket change? First, don't spend it. Set it aside and do some research. Compare your coin to pictures of known errors and varieties. If you think you've found something special, take it to a local coin shop or show, or send it off to a grading service for verification. In conclusion, the 1995 D Washington quarter might not seem like a treasure at first glance. But with the right knowledge and a little luck, you might find that one rare piece that turns your everyday change into big money. Whether you're a casual collector or a serious numismatist, always keep your eyes open. Coins like these prove that hidden value can be found in the most ordinary places. Today, we are diving into the exciting world of valuable quarter-dollar coins with a special focus on the 2008 P Washington quarter and the 1918 quarter-dollar coin. Both coins have unique stories, remarkable value in the collector market, and have caught the attention of numismatists all around the world. Let us start with the 2008 P Washington quarter. This quarter is part of the State Quarters program, launched by the United States Mint, which ran from 1999 to 2008. The program honored each of the 50 states with a unique reverse design. This means that the 2008 quarters were part of the final year in that historic series. The 2008 P quarters are particularly interesting because of their mint location. The P stands for Philadelphia, which is one of the main mints that produces United States coinage. Now, among the 5 quarters released in 2008 were Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, Alaska, and Hawaii. Each of these had unique designs and in some cases errors that significantly boosted their value on the collector's market. Let us talk about the Alaska quarter. For example, some 2008 P Alaska quarters show what collectors call the extra claw error. In this error, there appears to be an additional claw on the bear in the design. This was caused by a die gouge and has become one of the most sought-after errors in the 2008 P quarters. Some of these error coins have sold for over $100 and in higher grades. Even more, the 2008 P New Mexico quarter can also be worth a lot, especially in mint state condition with full luster and strong strikes. A perfect MS67 or higher example can bring up to $200 depending on demand. So how do you know if your 2008 P quarter is worth more than face value? Look for coins in uncirculated condition, preferably those that have never been used in general circulation. The best way to identify these is by checking the fields for scratches, marks, or dullness. A bright, shiny coin with clean details and minimal imperfections could be worth grading by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Now, let's go way back in time to discuss a coin that is often confused with the Washington quarter but has a completely different design, the 1918 quarter. Many people think the 1918 quarter features George Washington, but in fact it features Lady Liberty. The coin is officially known as the Standing Liberty quarter, and it was minted from 1916 to 1930. The 1918 Standing Liberty quarter is a beautiful and historic coin. It was designed by Herman A. McNeil and features Liberty holding a shield and an olive branch symbolizing defense and peace. The reverse features an eagle in flight surrounded by stars. Now here's where things get very interesting. The 1918 Standing Liberty quarter has several varieties, and some of them are extremely rare and valuable. One important thing to note is whether your 1918 quarter has a mint mark. The Philadelphia mint coins have no mint mark, while those from Denver will have a D, and San Francisco coins will have an S beneath the date. The rarest of the three is usually the 1918 S, especially in high grades, but the real jackpot comes with the 1918 8/7 overdate error. This occurred when a die originally made for 1917 was repunched with the 1918 date, creating a visible 8/7 effect. This error is incredibly scarce and can be worth thousands of dollars. In 1918 8/7 in high grade can fetch prices north of $15,000, and even lower grades can command $1,000 to $5,000 depending on condition. In addition to overdates, collectors also look at the condition of the coin. The Standing Liberty series is notorious for weak strikes and worn details, especially on Liberty's head and the date area. A coin with a full head and clear date can dramatically increase in value. A 1918 quarter with full head details and minimal where can be worth several $100s in circulated grades and well over $1,000 in uncirculated mint state grade. So how do you check if your 1918 quarter is valuable? First, make sure it is Genuine. There are counterfeits out there. Get it authenticated by a reputable dealer or grading service. Next, check for the mint mark and examine the date closely. Under magnification, you might just discover the rare overdate. Now, let us quickly go over the current market trends. As of 2025, the demand for error coins and vintage silver quarters like the 1918 Standing Liberty remains strong. Collectors are paying premium prices for coins with historical significance and visual appeal. The 2008 P quarters, especially with errors and in high-grade condition, continue to rise in value slowly but steadily. Their popularity is tied to nostalgia and the end of the state quarter era. Meanwhile, silver content in older coins like the 1918 quarter helps maintain a base value because of the intrinsic metal value alone, with silver hovering around $25 to $30 per ounce. A worn 1918 silver quarter is still worth its melt value, which is around $5 to $7, but collectible value can be much higher. In summary, both the 2008 P quarters and the 1918 Standing Liberty quarters hold tremendous value potential if you know what to look for. Search your pocket change, check your coin rolls, visit local coin shops and estate sales. You never know when a big money coin might show up in the most unexpected places. Today, we're diving deep into the world of modern coin collecting and focusing on one specific coin that has been making waves in the market: the 2015 D Washington quarter dollar. That's right. This seemingly ordinary quarter could be worth way more than 25 cents. In fact, in some cases, collectors have paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars for rare varieties of this coin. Let's talk about everything you need to know, from its history and mintage to the errors, varieties, and current market values that could make your pocket change a potential goldmine. So let's start with some background. The Washington quarter has been a staple in American coinage since 1932. It was originally issued to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Over the years, the design has changed several times. In 1999, the U.S. Mint introduced the 50-state quarters program, and it was a massive success. This led to further coin programs, including the America the Beautiful quarters program, which ran from 2010 to 2021. The 2015 quarters are part of that series. And specifically, we're going to focus on the 2015 D quarter, minted in Denver, with the D mint marked in 2015. 5 different designs were released under the America the Beautiful program. These include the Homestead National Monument of America in Nebraska, Kisatchie National Forest in Louisiana, Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina, Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge in Delaware, and Saratoga National Historical Park in New York. Each design is unique and celebrates the natural beauty and historical significance of different American sites. The quarters were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, with the D marking the Denver Mint. Now let's get into the money-making part. How can a 2015 D quarter be worth more than face value? First, it's all about errors and varieties. Coin collectors love coins that are rare and unusual, and mint errors can drive prices way up. Some of the most valuable 2015 D Washington quarters feature these error types. Die cracks, which happen when the die used to strike the coin develops a crack and transfers that flaw to the coin. Depending on the severity and location of the crack, these can add decent value. Cuds, which are blobs of metal that appear on the rim or part of the coin due to a piece of the die breaking off. These are generally more dramatic and highly collectible. Off-center strikes, where the image is not properly centered on the coin. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin tends to be, especially if the date is still visible. Double die errors. These occur when the die strikes the coin more than once in slightly different positions. Look for doubling in the lettering, especially on the word Liberty, In God We Trust, or the reverse design. A strong doubling can make your quarter worth hundreds of dollars or more. Then there's strike-through errors, when something like a piece of cloth or grease gets in the way during the minting process, leaving unusual impressions on the coin surface. So now the big question: how much are these 2015 D Washington quarters worth in the current market? If you have a regular 2015 D quarter in circulated condition, it's probably only worth face value 25 cents. But uncirculated examples, meaning coins that have never been used and are in mint condition, can be worth $1 to $5 depending on the demand. However, if you have a coin with a noticeable and dramatic error, especially a double die, a large cud, or an off-center strike, your coin could be worth anywhere from $25 to $250. And get this, in some rare cases, coins with major errors in pristine condition have sold for over $1,000 at auction. That's right, over $1,000 for a coin you might not even think twice about. On top of that, professional grading can make a big difference. Coins that are certified by third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC and are given high grades, say MS-67 or higher, can command premium prices. An MS-68 graded 2015 D quarter with a major error can sell for hundreds or more, depending on the collector's market at the time. As of now, the record auction price for a 2015 D quarter was for an error coin graded MS-68 that sold for around $1,295. That's big money for a modern coin. So what should you do? Start checking your change. Examine any 2015 D quarters you come across. Use a magnifying glass or a digital microscope to inspect for doubling, cracks, or off-center strikes. If something looks unusual, do not spend it. Put it aside and consider having it appraised or even graded professionally. And here's a tip: rolls of unsearched quarters from banks can sometimes contain hidden gems. If you're up for a bit of treasure hunting, you might be surprised at what you find. Before we wrap up, let's go over a few things to remember. 1. The year 2015 is part of the America the Beautiful series. Each reverse design is unique and tied to a specific location. 2. The D mint mark means it was minted in Denver. These are common, but certain errors are not. 3. Errors like double dies, off-center strikes, cuds, and strike-throughs can make these coins far more valuable. 4. Uncirculated and high-grade examples can fetch serious money, especially if graded by PCGS or NGC. And 5. Never assume a modern coin is worthless. The market for error coins is hot and growing, and even coins minted less than 10 years ago can bring in big money. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 2018 P Washington $quarter coin. This isn't just another piece of pocket change. Some of these quarters have been found to be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on specific factors. So if you've got a jar of quarters lying around, you might want to take a closer look. You could be holding onto a small fortune without even realizing it. Let's take it back for a moment. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932 and was originally created to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the decades, the design has gone through multiple changes, and in 2010, the U.S. Mint began releasing quarters under the America the Beautiful series. These coins featured national parks and historical sites from every state and territory. Now the 2018 quarter is part of that series. The 5 designs released in 2018 featured Pictured Rocks in Michigan, Apostle Islands in Wisconsin, Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota, Cumberland Island in Georgia, and Block Island in Rhode Island. But when we say 2018 P quarter, we're referring to those struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is denoted by the letter P on the obverse side of the coin. What makes some 2018 P quarters especially valuable comes down to a few key things. First is rarity. Even though millions were minted, some rare varieties, especially error coins, are worth serious money. Second is condition. Coins in mint state condition, especially those graded MS-67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, can be incredibly valuable. And third is the type of error. Double die obverse, off-center strikes, die cracks, and coins struck on the wrong planchets are all examples of errors that can drastically increase a coin's value. Let's go over a few real-world examples. A 2018 P Apostle Islands quarter in MS-67 condition has sold at auction for over $300. But that's just the beginning. A rare 2018 P Cumberland Island quarter with a visible double die error on the obverse side was sold on eBay for more than $800. Collectors are especially on the lookout for what are called strike-through errors, where a foreign object gets in the way during the minting process. Some of these error coins have reached values as high as $1,000 or more depending on their uniqueness and eye appeal. If you're wondering what your 2018 P Washington quarter might be worth today, it really depends on those 3 major factors. A standard 2018 P quarter in circulated condition is usually worth its face value. But if it's in near-perfect condition or has a well-documented error, that's where things get exciting. Mint state versions with no visible wear and sharp details can fetch anywhere from $10 to $50 and higher. But once a coin is certified and graded MS-68 or has a verified error, the price skyrockets. As of today, on the current market, certified error coins from the 2018 P series can sell anywhere between $100 and $2,000 based on demand, rarity, and condition. That's why collectors are paying close attention to these modern coins. They're not just history in your hand, they could be a hidden payday. Now, if you're serious about checking your coins, here's what to do. Get a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and look closely at both sides of the coin. Look for doubling on the date, letters, or design elements. Check for any strange marks, cracks, or anything that seems out of the ordinary. If you think you've found something rare, you can send your coin to be graded by a trusted company like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade your coin and give it a value in the official marketplace. Before you spend or cash in any quarter from 2018, especially one from Philadelphia, give it a second look. Because whether it's a minor mint error or a pristine condition strike, that little coin might be worth a lot more than 25 cents. Where we explore rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets behind everyday change. Today, we're diving deep into a modern coin that might just be sitting in your pocket right now, the 2022 P Washington quarter dollar. And believe it or not, some of these are selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So if you have one, pay close attention. You could be holding on to a jackpot. Let's begin with a little background. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932. But in 2022, the United States Mint kicked off a brand new series called the American Women Quarters Program. This program honors 5 significant women each year from 2022 to 2025. The 2022 P quarter is one of the first in this series, and the P stands for the Philadelphia Mint where it was struck. Now here's where things get interesting. The first woman featured in 2022 was Maya Angelou, the celebrated poet and civil rights activist. Her quarter features her image on the reverse with her arms uplifted in front of a rising sun and a majestic bird, symbolizing her spirit and powerful legacy. But while the design is stunning and historical, what really matters to collectors and investors is the value. So why are some 2022 P quarters worth far more than 25 cents? Let's break it down. First, it's all about condition. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC can reach incredible prices. A 2022 P quarter in perfect MS 67 or MS 68 condition is extremely rare. These coins show almost no signs of wear under magnification and have brilliant luster and flawless surfaces. As of today, some examples graded MS 67 have sold for upwards of $200 or more at auction. Now imagine a coin graded MS 68. That's nearly perfect. These are even scarcer and can command prices above $500. Depending on the collector demand and the auction house. But that's not all. Error coins are the real stars here. Some 2022 P Washington quarters have been discovered with dramatic errors like die clashes, off-center strikes, double dies, or retained die breaks. These errors make each coin completely unique and highly desirable. For example, a 2022 P Maya Angelou quarter with a major die break, often called a CUD error, sold for over $300 online. Another coin with a strong double die reverse brought in close to $500. And yes, these are coins you could find in a bankroll or even in your spare change. Another hot topic is strike-through errors. These occur when a piece of material like grease or cloth is struck into the coin during the minting process. They're rare, bizarre-looking, and collectors love them. Some strike-through error quarters from 2022 have sold for hundreds depending on severity and clarity. So what should you do if you think you found a valuable 2022 P quarter? First, examine it closely under good lighting. Look for any unusual marks, doubling in the text or imagery, or signs that the coin wasn't struck properly. Then consider having it graded by a reputable service. This can greatly increase its market value. You might also want to check eBay, heritage auctions, and other marketplaces to see what similar coins are currently selling for. Prices fluctuate based on demand and rarity, but the right coin in the right condition can fetch a small fortune. Right now in 2025, top condition 2022 P quarters are still holding strong in the collector's market, especially those with errors. MS 67 and above can range from $150 to $700 or more depending on grade and uniqueness. Error coins continue to be the big sellers, with auctions regularly showing prices from $250 up to over $1,000 for the rarest pieces. Let's not forget, even though these are modern coins, that's what makes them exciting. They're still in circulation. You don't need to dig through old collections or spend thousands at auctions. You just need to look closely at your change, your bankrolls, or that quarter you almost used in a vending machine. So don't underestimate the power of pocket change. The 2022 P. Washington Quarter might just turn into a collector's dream. Check your coins. Research what you find. And who knows, you might be holding on to something truly valuable. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into valuable coins. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a discovery. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and happy hunting.